As a rare city in the US that has a mountain right in the middle, Beverly Hills and Los Angeles has both homes in the flats and on the hillside. What are the differences and what makes one better than the other? Hi, this is Erik Brown, your local real estate agent, bringing you the best of Beverly Hills, where we share the best and brightest that the city has to offer. Now, my team and I are helping dozens of people with their phone calls, emails, text messages, and more importantly, their home buying and selling needs. And I would love to have us help you as well. So feel free to hit that bell and that subscribe button so you can get the most updated information that we're sharing here on all things Beverly Hills. Now, as mentioned, this is a great city that has a mountain right in the middle, which makes it really unique in that you have so much different topography and interesting components right in the middle of the city. And the cool part is that I am a transplant myself. I'm not originally from Beverly Hills. I came from the Midwest several years ago, and so my eyes and ears get to work for you, checking out every corner of the city and sharing those insights. So let's jump right in. I'm going to start by sharing with you several components of the flats. This is the part that is at the base of the Hollywood Hills or the Santa Monica Mountains. And the flats are really accessible. It's very easy to drive and get to various places. Now, you do have to deal with LA traffic, but you don't deal with winding roads and switchbacks that you may in the Santa Monica Mountains or in the Hollywood Hills. The flats have highways and larger thoroughfares, so it's much easier to get to places. You also don't lose reception that you may in hills if you're looking at using an Uber or Lyft or a rideshare service. Number two in the flats is that there are a couple of different sections in Beverly Hills that kind of break the area up. One is south of Wilshire, one is the commercial area that's just north of that, and then a third is what is often called the Flats, which is between Sunset Boulevard and Santa Monica. Those areas all have different nodes and feels to them. There's different housing stock, there's different styles, there's absolutely very different price points. But you've got that accessibility that we mentioned in point number one, and still a variety and proximity to all of the commercial node, like Rodeo Drive, all the restaurants, shops, entertainment, and hotels that are in the flats as well. Number three is the flats are really walkable. It's very easy. There's sidewalks everywhere. You have bike paths, you have trails, you have a park system. It's easy to drive to places. But as far as walkability goes, you can probably walk the whole downtown within a half hour. And the various residential areas are really picturesque. Palm tree lined streets, blue skies, lots of sun. Number four, you have a variety of different home styles in the flats as well. As we mentioned with those different areas in the city, you have different lot sizes, which cause for different housing types. Not only really large estates that are in the flats, but the 40 different architectural styles that kind of scatter around the city. Mid-century modern, Spanish, Mediterranean, colonial, traditional, new construction, the list goes on and on. Our next point that I'd like to share about the flats is you have a closer proximity to neighbors. It's more of a neighborhood or a small town feel. Yes, you have Rodeo Drive and 90210 and celebrities and paparazzi in the general vicinity, but in the residential area, you have more of a neighborhood feel. You'll see people walking their dogs and riding their bikes and talking to their neighbors. The last point that I want to share about the flats is it's very communal. You've got this area where it just feels like a small town. I touched on this in my last point, but as you're driving through or walking through, you'll see waves and smiles, neighbors talking to neighbors, people talking to their postal carrier, really great school systems. You feel all of this a little bit more in the flats because it is so communal. This is usually a very good stopping point where I can say, hopefully this information is helpful. And if you or anyone you know might have additional questions, I invite you to leave your comments or again, subscribe here. If you do know one or two people that are thinking about moving either in or out of Beverly Hills or the greater Los Angeles area, share this video with them. They may find it helpful as well. Now, let's move on to the Hills section of Beverly Hills. One of the biggest things that I find to be a huge advantage of the hills is the views. Now you've got a variety of different types of views, from city views, canyon views, hillside views, even ocean views. The higher you go, the more viewability, if you will, that you can have. Now views can also differentiate. You're going to see various price points on homes based on the degree of views. Is it 90 degrees or 180 degrees or more? Or do you have obstructed or unobstructed views? Do you see rooftops or chimneys, power lines, trees that might condense a view? But either way, you have views that you do not have in the flats. That's point number one. The next point that I want to share as number two is it's very private. Usually the homes are not as street lined as you might find in the flats. And so depending on the section that you are in, Benedict Canyon, Beverly Park, Beverly Glen, the various areas that are in the Hollywood Hills, you'll have various degrees of privacy. There are even some communities that are gated where you have 24/7 security, and it's going to be even much more private than you would see versus the communal aspect that you experience in the flats. The next one that I'll share with you, the next big point about the hills that difference, is you'll have sometimes really, really big lots. A standard lot in the city is 6,400 to 6,800 square feet. And you'll see in the flats area of Beverly Hills, some of those estates will be 10,000 to 20,000 square feet. Now in the hills, you might see some lots are an acre, 42,000, 45,000 square feet or larger. Now the big difference is not all of that is flat pad. Some of it is going to be right on the side of the hill, so it's totally unusable. You have the additional square footage in your lot, but you don't have the functionality. But what that does do is allow for our main point that we brought up before, was unobstructed views. The more lot that you have to protect your views, the more view that you can have. One of the other major differences you'll see in the hills compared to the flats is you have canyons. So some of the roads that you have to be able to get to your home are canyon roads, and they are not thoroughfares. They might be one lane in each direction. And if that's the only way to get to your home, and if you're dealing with any type of rush hour or commuter timeframes, you might have a little bit longer commute time to be able to get to your home if you're driving at regular hours. Those canyons also during rush hour can have canyon noise. So you might have anything from wildlife that you can hear all the way to cars, bikers, anything else that could be in the canyons. Last but not least that I like to share is one of the big differences is even though you have all of these different architectural styles in the flats, and some of that also carries over into the hills, you're going to have a different home style. Because it's in the hills and because California is an area that has earthquakes, the San Andreas fault line, etc., you're going to have a different type of construction that makes sure that that home is secure within the hills. So you're going to have caissons and pilings that are able to keep that home bored in as a foundational pillar. And that, my friends, are some of the biggest differences that I see between the hills and the flats. If you've got some additional questions, be it on the hills, the flats, Beverly Hills, or Los Angeles in general, or if you are thinking about buying, selling, or investing in the area, know that my team is here to help. We are one click away from being able to assist you on your dream home goals. And you can touch base with us via phone or via our website or on all of our different social media accounts. Please know that we are here to be a resource for you. And like I said, if you have other questions, connect anytime. Talk to you soon.